After a while, everyone can see the space in front of them. It's covered in a bright white light. The bright light is too strong, to the extent the surrounding space and all the scenery is gone. Only the tall figure of the armed forces remains. The translation can't stand. You have to put your hands behind the light and instinctively look around. I can only see a few people around, and his own shadow. All the surrounding scenery is gone. In front of everyone, thousands of zombies form a horde. Like in the blink of an eye, they're like bare dust that's been scrubbed clean. After a long time, the light in front of you slowly drifted away, and he once again sees the landscape around him. It's not just him, but also Red Pepper, Nu Yen Din Hai, and some others. It all seems dark, looking around awkwardly. Just now, everyone, it's like being deprived of the ability to see. They're all secretly wondering what just happened. At this moment, Nu Yen Din Hai, suddenly terrified, raise your right hand and point forward. You guys quickly look. Everyone look back on his finger. Only see ahead, there's no more zombies. There's only one place left full of dust, blown by the wind and disappeared. Zhang's eyes suddenly shrank. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He thought silently. There were thousands of zombies. Maybe they were all destroyed. A single blow killed thousands of zombies. This power can simply be described as unimaginable. I've seen a lot of powerful mutants, like the Red Pepper Mausoleum, Nu Yen Din Hai. They are of course strong, but their power is still in the VI. It can be explained. But the military is different. His power is beyond imagination. With logic. Just need a look. Thousands of zombies have been destroyed into a cloud of smoke. This is a terrifying force. There was a time. I think I know a lot about mutants. Heterosexual. I can't even say I'm at the top of the mutant world, but at least in a leading group. But today, the army gave him a real lesson. If he had to confront the military, whether the door to space could be, can we stop this terrible force? The scene was as quiet as a sheet. No one talks. People don't even dare to breathe hard. It's been a long time. I got my spirit back after the last shake. The enemy said to Confucius. The captain said he wanted a little low, but as a result, he's built a very large city. Confucius replied, maybe the captain thinks you're right. Only if there is enough power, it can make others voluntarily listen to your orders. They said no wrong. If before, Nu Yen Din High Pepper training, heaven and others obey the orders of the soldiers, it's because they're afraid of Jiangnan. But now, after they witnessed the power of the Wu army, they no longer dare to think of admiration. The border troops slowly put on their big sunglasses. However, not long after, he suddenly put his hand over his mouth and coughed violently. Deputy Chief of the Police Department. Worried about the captain? Dealing with all this shit. Let's do it. No need to do it yourself. The armed forces stood up. The man said coldly, everyone is very busy. There's no time to waste here. Pay attention to this. It seems that Wu's body has a problem. Only with the power of Jiangnan Great Region. It's impossible. There is no cure for such a wound. So we can say, the wounds on the soldiers could not be cured. whether it's a nanny disease or this wound, it has something to do with his ability. There are a lot of theories in the book. The soldiers turned around and told everyone, "You can go home. Remember to keep in touch. When I contact you, you need to coordinate with our actions." He was in a hurry and everyone nodded. This time their eyes showed respect. Even the old way of talking became much calmer. Everybody salute the troops, then leave the central building. The movement can be felt. People still haven't recovered from the shock of the armed forces. It's his ability. Then everyone in the city of Tianhai. It's all on a different level. To approach the armed forces asking kindly, "Frontier schoolgirl, is it your body? Is there anything uncomfortable? I have a doctor who can help you see it. Are you laughing at the fact that this is just an old disease? It will be fine to rest a little." And I wonder in my heart, no need to see a doctor. It seems like I thought. Maybe it's an incurable disease. Or it's caused by an ability that can't be changed. He doesn't continue this topic either. "It's cold in here. Come on in and sit down." The military laughed. "That's good. Yes, I have a lot to say to you." Only when talking to Zhang Yi, the soldiers laughed on their faces. This scene doesn't just make fat. Save the party, and the view is amazing. Even the others on the investigation team, it also feels unusual. But everyone gets in the car. And everyone leading the way in front. Driving towards the hiding place. Investigation team in the car. After getting in the car, the enemy did not wait to ask the soldiers, "Captain, why are you so kind to your brother? Is he a boy? Have you been missing for years?" In the car, laughter echoed. A gentle smile appeared at the edge of the border. But it's not easy to detect. He's familiar with the weird way champions talk. So he's not too calculating. He told the enemy's men. Translation is not simple. I can feel it. His power is extremely strong. It's not that other power leaders can compare. Maybe this is a good seed. When listening to the armed forces appreciate such a chapter, everyone on the investigation team, I'm also a little surprised. The person that the soldiers mentioned in their mouths, they are the ones who have the potential to join the group. They're mutants. Red Pepper, Nu Yen Den Hai with the celestial image, Trin Dat Tien, and some of them are objects of observation. However, the reception of extraordinary people and the great region of very strict, no matter the ability. Loyalty or wisdom is important. Of course, that doesn't mean all members of the investigation team are stronger than Red Pepper and others. It's just that they themselves are members of the Jiangnan Great Region. Know the origin and loyalty can guarantee. It's about recruiting members from the outside world. Natural conditions must be much more stringent. Explosives expert Kong moved his head closer with curiosity. Is he so strong? But I've never seen him act. How can you judge that? The armed forces continued. The first is our intuition. The second is through experience to judge. Even though the number of people is small, but it could become one of the top 5 in Tianhai City, that they're stronger on the mutant side. As a boss of the group, certainly the strongest. More. Only they can solve the zombie problem. Base. That's a good condition to judge. The corners of the border bring a brooding smile. The discovery of the translation chapter made this trip for him. It's also become more interesting. Even with his talent, the ability to increase later is also limited. So finding someone new like Zhang Yi, it became one of his joys. The Attorney General laughed and said, "That's what Ra is." He bowed his head, his body as big as a bear, his eyes deep. "Captain, your thoughts are long indeed." In the car, the air suddenly became quiet. People seemed to be thinking about some issues. Not good. A few seconds later, the enemy corn breaks the atmosphere. It is interesting to say, "I want to fight him." The military frowned on the enemy. "You shouldn't be too careless either. From what we know, his power can control you." The enemy appeared to sew up his clothes for an hour. "The more interesting it is to fix me." "What is the captain's ability?" The border force replied, "It's a kind of energy in space. It's very rare even in the physical system." In the car, everyone was amazed. Power in space. The police officer opened his eyes in a cold sweat. Even in the Jiangnan Great Zone, who have the ability to be skilled in space, also very little. This kind of capability has very high strategic value. Capacity in space. It may not be the most powerful, but it's definitely what every team wants. No need to say anything else, even if it's only possible to write things. It can also be of great benefit to team operations. The police chief laughed and said, "Can't be copied. Captain wants him on our team." The Lord said, "I only have such thoughts. You can try his talent once." I am willing to leave the city of Tianhai to get to Jiangnam. Whether or not, we have to see his own decision. The discovery of the translation chapter is an unintended harvest. But the main purpose of this trip is still dealing with the zombie threat. In the car right now, Zhang Yi took advantage of the automatic driving mode to open the way to my hiding place. He also discussed the salary and some others about the benefits and of people coming from the vast area of Jiangnan. Analyze the fluid flow. The power of these people is too strong. It's not a force at all that we've faced before. We should be careful and respect them a little bit. People from the large military sector. We need to maintain a certain level of fear. Vu border troops have completely contained the epidemic by a means of extermination. This also makes Zhang Yi understand better about the power of the rulers of the Jiangnan region in legend, and the strength of the Jiangnan area to what extent. There's a mutant at this level. Certainly not just one person. He doesn't mind a little bit now. People who come from great power. As humans, sometimes we need to be flexible. Know when to cringe and when to relax. In addition, the patient can also feel that. The soldiers had a little sympathy for him. A few hours later, Zhang Yi led the army and some others to my hiding place. When the mad warrior and his group see the grand luxury villa, they can't help but feel surprised. I thought his hiding place was underground. I thought it was such a big house. Confucius couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. This is too far away. Even in the vast area of Jiangnan, there is no hiding place so far away. Wu told everyone not to forget. This place used to be home to the richest people. United States. It's no wonder there will be places like this. Everybody out. The first is to look at the appearance of the hiding place. Amazed at its grandeur and magnificence. Before the translator approaches smiling, invite everyone to sit. You're welcome, just sit comfortably. As the group moves inside the hiding place, Zhu Hai, Ni, and some others, waiting for them here. You received the news soon. I knew that there would be visitors from South China. However, they still use curious eyes to look at the person that Zhang Yi brought. Zhu Liability Ni said softly in the ear. They are the ones sent from the Jiangnan Great Region, right? How I feel. They're like the official military. The police are not easy either. Invite others to your hiding place. Even if these people are from the Jiangnan Great Region, without a clear proof of identity and status, the government will not allow them. Enter your forbidden zone. The translation says they're all messengers from the Jiangnan Great Region to help Tianjin City solve the problem. Zombie. You guys, let's quickly prepare some food and drinks. After saying it, Zhang Yi turned his head, asked the military and his team. I don't know what you want to drink. In our homes, the conditions are quite simple. Just a little wine, coffee, and drinks. I hope you don't hate it. To hear this word of Zhang Yi, even armed men can't help but jump their eyes. Others especially want to choke Zhang Yi. But they're also military soldiers. Not because of comfortable and comfortable circumstances. In the villa, that manifests wonder. The enemy thinks this is called Sao only. The military said calmly, it's good to have boiling water to cool down. People sitting down on the salon chairs in the living room. Because they don't want to look like rural people. New to the city, they can just quietly observe everything in the room. The furniture away, hoa, warm and comfortable space. They're all things they can't enjoy. When in Jiangnam Great Zone, the military marble suddenly told the translation chapter, can we talk in private? He nodded and laughed. Of course, you can. Please follow me here. When the leader asks, the natural fluid will try to satisfy. The police told others, they are dedicated to entertaining the enemy to others, while he's with the border troops. To the small living room next door. This room is in the southeast corner of the hideout. Have a broad view. And the wall is made of bulletproof glass shoes. This place is perfect for tea and chatting. Because the space is comfortable and pleasant. 2 cups of boiling water is prepared to cool. Put a cup on the opposite side, and a cup in front of me. Armed soldiers enter the living room. Look at the snow outside for a while. Then sit down, facing Zhang Yi on the salon chair. Now it's just the 2 of us. Say it straight out. How did you deal with those zombies? Open your mouth. Prepare to tell the previous story. 1 way to add oil or vinegar. However, the army was slow to speak. The method you mentioned before has its place. You can fool others a little. But it's not necessary for me. In fact, the Jiangnam area holds a lot of information. More than your imagination. The movement stopped for a moment. Really, people who come from above are not easily fooled. The movement is no longer hidden. He told the border guards about how he's dealing with zombies. In fact, the method. We use it to deal with zombies. It's putting them in the water. I also dare not claim that. We've cleaned out all the zombies in Taysun and the highway, but within VI 50 kilometers around, whether it's zombies or animals, there's no large-scale action. That's why I was warned before, you know. I have to be honest now. He secretly thought, if he continues to beat the drum, it might leave a bad impression on the military. That's not what he wanted. After listening to the translation presentation, armed men raise their hands. Take a sip of hot water from the next cup. Why didn't you tell the truth in the first place? You want them to die as much as possible. Because they've attacked you before. Or is you want to be the king of the ocean? Facing the question of the military, Zhang Yi does not appear arrogant or self-deprecating. He replied slowly. At first, maybe we have a little bit of a vendetta against them. Even if we don't need to talk. You can also realize that the relationship between the forces within us, nor is it harmonious. When one side gets weaker, the other gets stronger. But actually, the most important reason is not that. It's that we can't really help them. In this issue, you must know that the subway network of Tianhai City, very large. We can't help their forces handle it all. And I also don't believe that this method can solve the fundamental problem. If you can't destroy the king, zombies will always appear. The military did not give an opinion. To the contrary, have you ever met the king? Zhang Yi shook his head. Not yet, but I believe the king exists. That sounds reasonable. Zombies often attack places where there are many people. But at SAO, there are only 9 people in our hiding place. And we rarely go out. This led to the emergence of a group of zombies. Laughing deeply at the corners of the mouth, he stared at the soldiers and said slowly, "Zombies select a target. It's the AI that's deliberately targeting our power." The military looked at Zhang Yi and laughed. "You're really smart." Shake your head. This is not great wisdom. It's just a little ingenuity. You can save your life in this world. The military had a little comment on the translation. Method of the translation chapter. It may not solve the problem completely, but it can also maintain stability in some areas. However, its use needs to be controlled. If not, pushing all the zombies out of the Sky City will cause a complete explosion. If there is no proper preparation, they won't be able to cope. And they need 10 more pieces of information. Only if we solve the king's problem. I know what it is and where it's hiding. They can take action to eliminate it. The army made an offer to Zhang Yi. You have so much potential. I guess you could be a Delta officer. Do you want to consider leaving this small place? Go to Jiangnam area 1x0. Translation is very interesting. The concept of the power hierarchy. That's what the military said. Wait a minute. You just said something. What does Delta mean? The soldiers realized that. Expand translation. Not having a good understanding of professional knowledge related to mutants. He couldn't help laughing. It's not a secret. I can explain it to you. He asked for a copy of you. When did mutants appear? The movement, almost without hesitation, immediately replied when the gamma ray passed through the blue star. After the Ice Age. Wrong. The armed forces directly rejected Zhang Yi's words. He said, Human variation has existed from the past to the present. If you look at it from the perspective of evolution, all creatures are always mutating. It's inevitable. Good variability to help individual organisms have a stronger ability to survive. And then there's a greater rate of mating. Then pass it on to the next generation. Transmit this variation. Just talking about us humans, modern humans and our ancestors, 100,000 years ago, it's almost two different species. In the process, in billions of people, there will be some people born with special ability. The armed forces continued. Generous general with extraordinary strength. Prophets have the ability to predict. The monster deformed with had 6 hands. They're all considered mutants. The military sips a sip of hot water. Then tell the translation chapter in earnest. Mutants have existed since ancient times. There's never been such a large area of variation as there is today. It's caused by external factors. The entire genome in the group was changed. That's why countless mutants have been born. However, the countries of the world has conducted research on human body metamorphosis from very early. So, the classification and ranking of mutants has been around for a long time. Open your arms. We've learned about 6 types of mutants. But how do we divide the mutant caste? The military explained. Now the whole world. There's a unified standard for dividing mutants. Alpha level is also known as level 1. This mutant bandit was born with mutant powers, not strong and not mature in nature. They can only show some of their superhuman strength. This kind of mutant, just a little stronger than normal people. Next up is beta or level 2. Compared to alpha level, their abilities are stronger, possessing the power of an elite warrior, the highest level of humanity. But there's still no significant growth trend. The next level is gamma or ba. At this level, the mutant possessed relatively strong superhuman strength. They can stop hundreds of superpowered people, or have some kind of super powerful auxiliary power. After talking about here, I think about the people next to me. The word fat and the word fat probably belong to the gamma level mutant. Because of their ability, it can be used by hundreds of soldiers. Trong asked curiously, "Is there anything else?" The military continues to speak. Is the true sublime. That's Delta or level 4. The clearest criteria of this level. It's being able to absorb the energy of other mutants, to evolve ourselves. I can't help but be startled in my heart. He's trying to understand a problem. It was finally explained. I can't blame him and the flowers. Salary it's able to absorb other people's energy. While the word fat and fat can't be. Bai Quan Vu said, Delta level agent may not be able to manifest more power compared to previous levels, but they can continue to evolve. If you reach a maximum value, you can stop. So they can be explained as having extremely high potential. Current, according to preliminary judgment, you and every leader of the world, they all belong to this level. In Zhang Yi's heart, he silently repeated the word, Delta. Let him know that among the mutants, he belongs to level 4. This is a very high rating. When it comes to here, the military's tone became more serious. Next is the current highest level of clone. Level 5 mutant. Here, it's the most powerful fighting force in the world, currently in the National Guard. except that it's possible to override the power of other mutants. He also possesses extremely powerful abilities. Every mutant of this rank, all can be considered. It is an important national existence. Zhang Yi stared at the Wu frontier. I can't help but ask, you're a Fkong class mutant, aren't you? The power of the military frontier as he kills thousands of zombies make Zhang Yi feel afraid, even when just thinking about it. The ballerina laughed softly, then slowly shook her head. No, we're just Delta mutants. You can't help but take a deep breath. Even you are a Delta-level human. It's hard to imagine how powerful is the ultimate human-level cylinder press. After listening to Zhang Yi Bian, the armed forces suddenly laughed. Trong asked, why don't we explain it wrong? Border troops shake their heads. It's a little different from your understanding. It's actually class division. Dexterity and fighting power. There's not really an absolute relationship. It's more of a limitation. The highest capacity. There's a lot of different kinds of dysfunctions. It's not just combat aptitude, but also auxiliary or other specific types. If the capacity is stifled, or unfavorable circumstances for the ability to develop, high-level mutants are killed by low-level mutants. It's not weird. The police also agree with this. If you think of the ability as a weapon, it's about whether or not you can harness its power. You have to look at the person using that weapon. He pointed at his nose. So you're guessing I'm a Delta mutant? That's level 4, right? Suddenly laughing in theory. You and I are the same class of mutants. You value me very much. Hold a cup of tea in your hand. Taking a sip in his heart, he was calculating. The words of the Wu border. No need to hide information. So he determined. I'm the same level of mutant as the translation. There are only 2 possibilities. First, even though his power is strong. But there's also a big drawback. If not with this ability. Sure, that's not Zhang's current ability. It can be compared. Of course, if we're talking about defense, it's a different story. Second, the armed forces recognize the potential of the system, the space of Zhang Yi. Because space is not dysfunctional, absolute combat properties, but the synergy is very perverted. It's not just full-scale public rooms, but also owns flexible auxiliary effect. Look like that? The ranking of Delta is also quite reasonable. The military said, this is based on my understanding of you. To make a judgment. The actual ranking of the rank of need to be carried out by experts in this field. New one. This kind of ranking isn't exactly accurate. Can only rely on the ability that of course shows. To assess. I only rely on your expression in front of me. We rely on our experience to judge that you're a Delta mutant. So the mutant thing. To complete the leap of power class. It's also very possible. But Delta is a limiting point. If there is no middle power, it can be concluded that mutants of level Ba or lower. After listening to Thu's armed forces, the government has a basic understanding about the separation of powers. At least now based on the military's judgment. His potential power is Delta level. This is also level 4. Although this doesn't mean absolute combat power, but it also means infinite potential. The company is quite satisfied with its capabilities. However, he's become very interested in the level 5 mystery. Level mutant pressing cylinder. How powerful is this rank mutant, finally? Has this kind of character appeared in the world? There is doubt in my heart. I took this opportunity to ask. Frontier schoolgirl, have you ever met an FEC class mutant? The armed forces are slowly shaking their heads. I've never met them. But we know in the Great Wall, there really is a Fclon-level mutant. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up. So there really is the kind of character that exists. Is a mutant. Zhang Yi can't help but care about this kind of existence. The soldiers laughed. It's not a secret. Even after the end of the world, each city needs to manage a surrounding area to deal with mutant species and organizations that mess up. In the end, it must rely on sheer force to control it. When it comes to the Fclon Kier, in the eyes of armed men, also bring a little glass admiration and fans. The power of the Kier was so great that it can't be explained by conventional theory. They say they just need to keep an eye on him. Even 1,000 miles apart will be killed by an idea. It's the real miracle. The epidemic almost dropped the water cup in his hand to the ground. He rolled his eyes in disbelief at the military. You're not kidding me. Thousands of miles away and can still take people's lives. It's his ability. Maybe it's a missile satellite. Armed soldiers raise their lips. Look out the window at the snowfall. You can compare the Kier more easily. All I know is that if he keeps an eye on me, that person will surely die. Even more though fleeing to the horizon. The sea doesn't work either.